Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined. Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined. Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined. Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined.
Welcome. If by the off chance you started with us today, super appreciate that. It is no shortage of options, I believe. We've got Doughboy with Lacey, YSM bringing on Rolo, D Stables doing their own stuff. Should be a good day, but I'm pretty excited about our stream as well. We've got OLAS, our Lord and Savior, GVG, joining here shortly to reveal his. And then we'll do the very typical face melding, disappointing reveal of all the absolute horsepower horses. Retire some fillies live on stream, and then maybe do an early glance at what will be available for sale. Maybe as early as today. We had some thought process on when's the right time to try to list things this season. Some of that is increased supply of horses, less rake. Some of it is tax considerations with year end. Some of it is the Jupiter airdrop, and will that make the time to sell when everybody receives that airdrop in January as opposed to now? So to be TBD on some of that, but we'll always list a couple here today. It's just, it might not be the typical wide swaths of 20 horses for sale within 10 minutes, but we'll see what we get, and that'll answer for all of that. I see we've got GVG just getting set up in the background, so I'll give him another minute or two. But without a doubt, I would assume he's got like 6 S pluses. So we'll see those, and then, like I said, see me tilt my face off when I get 0. What's up, GVG?
Good morning, Sins. Happy Fool's Day.
Happy
Best
Fool's
day
Day.
of the month.
It keeps growing. It really does, and I hope it continues on this trajectory. But like, it's just a bigger and bigger event every time too. Like I know Doughboy always wants to be the guy to stream right at the top of the hour as well. But now we have like literally 4 or 5 streams going at the same time, and I probably have the detriment of broadcasting that all of my streams are available on replay on YouTube. But I have the benefit of having you join the stream, so I appreciate that, and I appreciate everybody in the chat. I see ECS, Tradon, obviously Go T-Wolves, and they're going to win tonight. Hopefully I can get Eddie to put another $100 on Miami so I can take that $100 off his hands. You win my attention. That's better than the SS minus. Well, that's appreciated. I would take the SS minus over your friendship, though, poker player. We've even got Rage Panther and Local Top Hat. So a few others lurking, but appreciate it. Do you want to share your screen, or do you want me to try to navigate to your stable and see if things are already revealed?
Whichever way is best for you. I mean, we can do either one.
If you could share yours, just because I feel like you can reveal your own, but if you go to someone else's stable, oftentimes it seems like everything's there.
Yep. Give me one sec.
You're fine. I don't know that Jimmy Butler's trash, but he's a marked man with the Minnesota Timberwolves based on the history, and the Wolves are actually finally good. So I do think they're going to try to embarrass the Heat tonight. Welcome, Winterland Racing. I think a new name for me, but appreciate the new audience as much as the old audience. Poker player, did you reveal anything yet? Or you're not waiting until after the stream to look at yours? How many S pluses did you get? Yeah, I think so too. Cat's playing probably the best basketball of his career right now, and when he's not the focal point because you've got Anthony Edwards, it works pretty well. I'm a half dozen in. Rubbish so far. Shout out to Trodon. He got a S plus Philly. That's pretty fucking exciting.
Nice, Trodon. Congrats on that, sir.
I got your screen here. Let's take a look.
So I've sorted by age. So no clue on what grades are going to be here yet. Are you good for me to go whenever?
Quick ones up. You don't have any quick ones. We could just zoom through.
What was that?
I said you can preview them however you'd like. You can add some commentary, or you can just rip the Band-Aid off a few of them, whatever you like. The world is your oyster.
Yeah, we'll probably just go in order here. Work our way down, not knowing what grade's what. So based, yes, this was an S plus. Excited to see. This is the first time this filly's ever bred. And that was
Billy.
that was with
Doc Brown?
Doc Blue, yes.
Oh, Doc Blue. Oh, that's a bit of
a down roll there.
Yes, that's not the way we wanted to start today.
Not the way we wanted to start at all. But can't win them all.
You can certainly try.
I think we have 3 or 4 with Doc Blue. I'll be curious to see how the others go. All right, Full of Aphrodite. S Colt.
That's a Gen 0 RDF?
Correct. LDF.
LDF. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that was Lucy Juice with an S minus Gen 0.
I do like that, bringing in 9924 to LDF. We've obviously tried to do that on the Colt side, but I do like that play for sure.
Yeah, for me, I've just seen, the LDF side of things has given me some of my best racers. I've had some good racers on the LDS side of things, but just not the hit rate is not quite the same as with F. So plus Lucy Juice has a lot on paper, especially breeding reports wise. So took some flyers there for sure. Okay, Foal of Aphrodite's Attitude. So that's Aphrodite and Bad Attitude.
Bad Attitude.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. And that was the same. That was a Lucy
Bad
Juice.
Attitude's an S- to start with, right? Yeah. Yep.
Correct. Yep. S-
So that's probably about
S.
right. That's a case where the two S minuses make an S. So if we think that tended to end up being on the lower end of the S, then an S plus, what's probably on the mid to lower end of an S plus with an S staying an S it's probably your base case expectation. If we're trying to level set, when is it normal to get an S plus versus when is it a surprise to get an S plus?
Exactly. This would have been a really pretty surprising if an S plus would have been the outcome here. Expectations were an S. So, all right. Afrofactual, first time ever breeding this filly. Another colt, S colt. That was a Lucy Juice offspring as well. That was known fact in Aphrodite. Never quite panned up to what I was hoping for it to be racing wise.
Yeah. A lot of purple backgrounds there. Is that bonus matches?
Of course, yeah.
Rage Panther would know.
Yeah, Rage Panther can fill us in on that. Full of Artemis. This is a right turf.
Oof.
Another
Only
colt.
oofing just the streak of colts. This is an S minus to start. Yeah.
Yeah, so I went monster for the stud on this side of things, on the RTF side this time. So, I mean, not a terrible outcome in terms of grade. A lot of colts, though, so we'll see. Astronova is an S minus LDF. Billy, another colt, another S colt.
We're testing how great GVG is today, it looks like.
Hey, listen, man.
We see the man break.
All right, Full of Bespoke, the 9 of 9 S plus from Lolly's Legend in Primetime.
S plus filly.
Okay.
Nice.
That's
did you want a colt there or did you want a filly there?
Probably a filly there. Vinny Vidi had a golden boot. Great guy. Shout out for a good cover here. So, yeah, I mean, filly just because of the one-on-ones are already in the stud that I chose. And so we'll see where we go next with this. But, man, 2 S pluses, creating an S plus. Got preferences. I think this is a strong S plus. Yeah, good preferences. Really happy with that outcome. Full of Cosmo. Cosmo is an S LDF Gen 0. And this was, I think, Morningwood, if I remember correctly. Another S colt.
Going back to bespoke, so it came out of filly, and I asked, did you prefer colt or filly? And I understand colt would probably make it less desirable from a breeding perspective because it's got the one-on-ones in it, it's got prime time in it. You're not really necessarily advancing the bloodline. But filly at this point, in this stage in the game, I'm wondering if that's a horse you actually race for the 3-year-old season. If it's a dominant 2-year-old racer, would you just race for the 3-year-old major, or we're not there yet?
I think I'm probably there now with this.
I agree.
With the batches being born, I think that the ones that show the most opportunity and the most success early on the track will be the ones that I choose to go ahead and continue running through their 3-year-old season.
Okay.
I think we're finally at that point in the game now. I mean, I have enough fillies to breed every month that it's not like itching to just get more chances. You know what I mean? So feel good about the roster we have, and think that, yeah, it's kind of like the ones that race well enough, they kind of like earn that ability and the right to stay on the track, you know? But yeah, nothing after the year 3 at this point, at least. All right, Foal of Crown Bias, LDF, S filly. Okay, another S colt. Law of averages means it has to level out here, right? It's like flipping the coin
You'd
deal.
think. Or globally it levels out and I get all fillies, one of the two.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, you know what? You've had some colt heavy runs here, so I'd be happy for you if it went that way. Foal of Cyber Gaia. This is an S RDF. Cyber Gaia. The one interesting thing about her was she has SS minus for speed. Okay, an S filly.
Where did that breed to?
Yeah, this was with Hot Sauce. Yep. Second time in a row taking her to Hot Sauce and 2 S's. So, not mad at it. Looks like we got a decent preference roll here. Yeah. Not mad at that. Okay, Ethereal Elegance. This was a Gen 0 S minus RDF. An S Colt. Foal of Gaia. This is an S RDF. Gen 0.
There you go.
Okay.
I actually like that. You went LDF. You must have been the Lucy Juice on this one.
Yes, I'm kind of, my strategy is I'm taking 1 or 2 of my SRDF fillies and taking them to Lucy Juice and see if we can start to move some things over there. So yeah, I mean, obviously we knew that the left preference was going to get dinged, or the right preference was going to get dinged here. Those two basically canceling out. I do like that it went ahead, and even though it's 0
showed
stars,
left, yeah,
shows left, and we'll see how important that is or not down the line, but
it's at least important for filtering. If you're
exactly.
trying to filter left dirt sires.
Exactly. And then depending on reveal here, whenever this guy retires, I mean, this could potentially be a decent one to start to flip some other rights to lefts or lefts to rights. So
yeah, the only caution I would have there myself as a person that would potentially use this horse is that it's got 2 1-of-1s in it that are native to LDF, and obviously one's coming from LDF with Lucy or Lucy Wood or whatever is used in it. Mm-hmm. Do you have anything that is RDF that doesn't have Astro in it to try to do, or doesn't have a 1-of-1 in it to try to do the same thing? I think that's where I would actually try this experiment every month, not just once every now and then.
Yeah, I have some that are at the S minus level. At the S level, for the most part, most of my stuff in RDF has a 1-of-1 in it. So we'll see though as we proceed through more seasons what becomes available. But it's definitely something that I'll try and do.
You know what I mean though, because like I get like if you take an S minus to an S plus, like maybe it's not a great racer, maybe it's still an S minus, and like no one wants to breed with those types of conversations. But at least if you're offering like an actual unique bloodline, like if we do happen to stall out at kind of an S plus level, middling S plus level for a little bit here, I certainly still think that's the most likely outcome. I know others are calling for SS minuses, if not today, in 2 months, but providing like a truly unique breeding option to me is maybe more valuable than providing an S plus or an S that, still doesn't really advance where you can go from unique bloodlines.
I agree. Especially, when it comes to taking that thing to the stud market, and how many people find value in it, non 1-of-1s, or at least things not specific to the archetype that you're breeding to, like you said. All right, Foal of Girl Bias. This is an S minus LDF. She is an S minus, right? Is that an S plus and an S? Oh, she's an S, correct. Yeah. Okay. S plus filly out of that. Like that. Yeah, so we got what?
Sorry.
Morningwood, Ziggy, and Astro. Or Scuba, excuse me. So we still have Astro and still have Astro, I guess. Okay,
Nice.
man. Yeah, happy with that. This was my goal for the entire breeding session, was my first S Plus left dirt horse. I think I've had a dozen plus S pluses at this point in the game. They've all been right dirt, expectedly. It's the largest of my population, in my barn at least, but was waiting for the first LD S plus. She came in the form of a filly, so super stoked on that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Let's go. Full of Isis. Isis is a right dirt S minus Scuba.
Went to Doc, or where did you go here?
Yeah, I'm actually not sure where I went here.
Night Saturn. I was going to ask if you use Night Saturn much at all. I know it's early and often that it gets hit by everybody, and I've been a believer of using S minuses. I think probably literally more than anybody at this point. I know there's some people that just think you're too far behind it if you're choosing S minuses, but I think this should be a good racer. And then what did we get for gender?
Yeah, it's a filly.
Race great for one season. Try to then maybe take it to Doc, or take it to Doc Blue, or whatever you want to do at that point.
Correct, yeah. All right, Full of Ivory. Ivory's a left dirt soft. And that's another S Colt. And that was an America's Most Wanted cover there, by the way. Shout out
thought that was a good
Stables.
choice. Yeah. I thought that horse actually looked better than it got credit for on the track.
Yeah, absolutely. That was one that Commish sold. I had purchased it, and then SoCal hounded me for months to purchase it. And squeaky wheel gets the grease, I guess, right?
Well, that's not always true, because I've asked to buy it from SoCal since, and it's still not in my barn. So
yeah, I don't think he's going to let go of it. I was actually surprised to see America's Most Wanted not get more covers.
I think people just kind of get set in their ways, and now people are, if they're willing to spend, they're looking at the S plus level. Like, I think that's one case where, and I know Bryce is probably aware, but filtering on progeny of a specific sire and then filtering in the breeding barn just needs to be way more robust than it actually is, to try to get an idea of what you should be doing with your horses. And I know Sowers works closely with the Gap Data guys, and they have some stuff. But if we can get a native to the site, even if we take ideas from what Gap has done and maybe try to improve upon them, I think that's the way forward in breeding. Because otherwise, you get to this case where you can have 35 covers and you've got 35 S pluses at RDF right now. It's hard to choose outside of those options. I mean, you have to be looking for an excuse not to use some of those.
This is true. So, like, what would you recommend to the team as things to be able to filter by or sort by? Or
I think filtering on the progeny tab of the sire itself is what I care most about right now, because I want to see what that sire has done. Like, I want to be able to filter by the global grade of the filly used. So for America's Most Wanted, I want to see a list of what he's done with A+ fillies. I want to see a list of what he's done with S- fillies, because you get to these Serenity Nows of the world that have bred 200 times now. Like, that's just noise if you go to the progeny tab. Maybe it's a great breeder, maybe it's a terrible breeder, but it's all relative to what fillies were used with it to try to come up with outcomes. And I think that makes things easier when you're trying to evaluate at the true top end, whether that's hot sauce or churro or whatever you want to do. So I care more about it there, because if I can at least understand progeny, then I can look for those specific horses in the breeding barn, rather than I feel like when I'm going to the breeding barn, unless someone's like pricing something for the men to try to run train on it or something, once I'm already at the breeding barn and the breeding window's open, I normally know what I'm going to do. I've done my homework a week ago.
Yeah, same. But I guess, that's not the typical user, I guess, right? Especially as the game continues to grow. Not everybody's crazy about it, like we are. Or maybe just doesn't have as much time to look at it as we do. But yeah. Good suggestions, though. I'm sure the team's looking into that. As it's definitely needed as the population continues to just expand here.
Right.
Okay, Foal of Khaleesi, S- RTF Gen 0. Took her to Monster as well.
That's a pretty good outcome there, I think.
That's a pretty good outcome. Not mad at that one.
Yeah. It's been hard to advance at RTF. It just is.
It has. And I know we have Monkey Tennis has promised to retire his S Plus there, which is exciting. Have we seen any reveals on that yet, by the way?
I don't know if we have. I can try to find it while you go through the next couple here and see if he's got it, but I'm not sure.
I'd be curious to see.
He might race it this week.
He may race it this week. But I mean, I don't know. It's one of those tough ones. If you're trying to maximize in the stud barn, you want to list it in there decently early in the window.
He's at least publicly marketed it, so I think part of that is
people are going to wait. Yeah.
Or if they're going to wait, they're going to wait.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, no matter what.
Exactly. Okay, Foal of Khaleesi of Jupiter. Jupiter sighting, offspring sighting here, Stins. S Colt. Okay.
A little bit of a rug.
Little bit of a rug. Foal of King Spirit. Okay. S Plus Colt. Right dirt soft. This was a Doc Blue offspring. Flip to soft now. This has got to be a higher S Plus, I'm hoping.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, your first Doc, this is the second of 3 Doc Blue reveals for you. And the first one was kind of borderline disaster.
Yeah. I think this is our second.
Do you feel like you talked a lot about LDF and getting your first S Plus there, and some of your best racers had been at LDF, even if they weren't necessarily S Pluses. Am I correct in reading into that the inverse is sort of true, and that even if you're getting S Pluses at RDF, that the environment at RDF is so tough to separate yourself? Or how do you feel about a horse like this? Like, is this the odds-on favorite if it goes sloppy for the right dirt major? Or?
Well, like most things and all things, we don't know distance preference, so that'll be to be determined. But if this thing carries on the attributes of its parents, then I would like to believe that it has a really good shot. I think both of these S Pluses in the lineage are probably kind of like that mid-level S Plus in terms of how far away from an SS minus are they. At least somewhere in there. But I think you're probably getting to a stronger S Plus here. In any other archetype, then that's probably going to give you a massive advantage. In right dirt, a slight advantage.
Sure.
It's really going to come down to distance preferences, and then we'll see how this half star soft plays out on the track and what that really translates into. But not mad at the pull, not mad at a Colt, especially if we go the S Plus side of things.
I dropped the link to Monkey Tennis. He did retire that Colt. I don't know if you want to pull it now or if you want to come back to it. I know it's a horse you were interested in, so I wanted to get your thoughts on it before we ended your portion of the stream, but we can finish your reveals as well.
Yeah, let's go look at it real quick. Let's see.
Private chat in the StreamYard here.
Okay.
It's got a couple juicy stats, and stats line up pretty well with where you would want them, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not blown away by it, to be honest with you, but it's pretty decent.
Okay. 2 SS minuses is strong.
Yeah, but so then, so we,
Would have
and
maybe
I,
loved to
again,
see it in
I,
a different spot, but
yeah, and if MJ's on, again, this is the second straight stream where I remember him talking about it, where we were talking basically net subgrades up and subgrades down from the global grade. So this is an S plus with two SS minuses, so that would get you two subgrade net up, but then you have an S minus, and then that would be two subgrades down, and then three S's would be three subgrades down. So like how this made an S plus to me would mean like that stamina or heart has to be just massive, because otherwise on paper you would think that this should be an S.
correct. Or the S minus start is just a hair under just being an S, you know.
Finished temper or super strong S's too. I mean, there's a couple ways.
The radials.
This doesn't
Exactly.
just scream like, oh my god, this is an S plus. But I mean,
Right.
obviously, I'd love to have it. So if he wants to sell it because
And
he's
what-
disappointed in the reveal, we'll take it.
Exactly. I'll buy it from him. What was the what did this guy prefer distance preference wise? Okay, yeah, it's a distance horse, obviously, with the stamina. Yeah, I mean, I think he's not going to have any trouble getting action in the stud barn with this guy, though.
But so Sowers brings up a good point. So go to the progeny, or the bloodline here.
Okay.
Not to try to pump my own horse. Okay, so there's only one of one. So in my opinion, the value of this horse is not even that it's an S plus, not even like the distance preference where the distance preference is. The value of the horse is that it brings 9925, which is the jockey or at the track, whatever you want to call that, PFP, to RTF and stayed RTF. So you would hit this as opposed to your Durban Poisons, the Jupiters of the world, because it's a unique one of one at RTF, and you would do it for that purpose more so than you would be doing it for the fact that it's an S plus. So what's interesting is he's got this breed. He bred this before, I think 2 seasons ago. I don't know if he's retired that. I'll look while I'm stalling, because I'm curious if it's any better or if it's any worse. Purple Jesus Juice got a nice horse in the chat here too, it looks like. I'll try to come back to that. But I'm very curious on if Monkey Tennis retired and revealed both these colts or not. My problem is I don't know the name of the horse. Give me a second.
Yeah.
We can keep going through your reveal if you want. I'll let you know what I find out when I find out.
Sounds good. All right, Full of Matriarch. I believe this took her to Benedict. Matriarch is a Scuba RDF S Gen 0. Okay. Got an S plus colt out of that. Good preferences. Good outcome there. So we got 22 and 23, and then prime time in there. So we still have 21. Ziggy Blood we can go to, or excuse me, he's a colt, so can breed him with non-101 stuff and stuff with Ziggy in it. Excited to see that guy on the track. All right, Full of Meme Girl. This is an S minus LDF bred horse. S filly. Oh man, carried some strong prefs over. We got 8 of 9, I think that is. Okay, Lucy Juice, and this is a non-1 of 1 S minus filly here with Meme God and Girl Scout cookies. Created Meme Girl. So yeah, we still have Scuba as well as Ziggy, or excuse me, as well as Astro. This girl can be paired with. So great outcome there. Really strong, really strong preferences. Yeah. All right, Full of Olympia. This is an S minus LDF Gen 0 S plus colt. That's an S minus. Created an S plus here.
with an
Wood
S.
and Olympia.
There you go.
With an S. An S and an S minus made an S plus. Colts.
So I think that's, I mean, Olympia still has one of one in it, but those are the type of things that are going to make the next very valuable breeders, is when you can limit the number of pieces it took you to get to S plus, even if it's not like the truest top S plus. So when we're talking filters that maybe need to be added, is like truly just a count of the number of one of ones, or let you filter for sire. So if we say prime times from 9930, and obviously it's pretty prolific at RDF at this point, if you could type in the sires that you're trying to avoid, whether that's 9922, 9923, or 9930. And I think that's what the gap data guys are doing. But those are the types of filters I would like to see on the breeding barn.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I think we talked about this in our last discussion, was, potentially also the ability for the team to maybe build something in the same way you click on a horse in your barn for, find recommended races, and it's, not going to show you races that you aren't allowed to enter. Maybe in the stud barn, it doesn't show you studs that would be considered inbreeding, and it just eliminates those. I don't know. I know there's been some discussion about that, just about, user experience. Primarily, that's, first of all, we've seen even veterans make the mistake of inbreeding multiple times. And so, if veterans that have, eat, sleep, and breathe this game for the last year and a half plus, very aware of what the rules are with inbreeding, can still make that mistake, what does that say for someone that's newer into the ecosystem? How much more likely are they to make a mistake with breeding? So,
and each decision they make is so much more consequential to them than if you or I inbreed.
Exactly. You have your one of your two total fillies, then you find out after the fact that you inbred is a tough pill to swallow, I'm sure. So, interesting outcomes. I'm going to be curious to follow some of these, true 2 level ups, or at least 1 full level up, grade up. I know that we've seen a few here and there. Lorgar's Laughter at a big brain RDF was a prime time and an S minus, created an S plus. And that one, she was actually good on the track.
So we've got 2 that will race this season, so I'm pretty excited to see those 2.
Nice. You have to link me to which ones those are. I want to follow along. Okay, Full of One Night Stand. This is an S LDF. She's a non 1 of 1 LDF. Okay, S Colt. This is Lucy Juice. One Night Stand. Interesting. Full of Royalty. Royalty's an S RDF Gen 0. One of the only RDF S's that come from a 1 of 1 that had S temper. I think maybe the only one. I can't remember.
Nice.
Okay.
You'll take that.
Take that. That's a hot sauce breed. Shout out Solonot Kamish. Happy with that. Setting Suns Apollo. This is my only A plus in the barn since inception of the game. She's been a great breeder.
You just do that so you feel like you can relate. You relate to the people then, or what?
Yeah, exactly.
I've got green tickets too.
This was actually a deal I did with Balthazar way back when we were still in beta, and this was like she was an add-on to a deal. So, but I've been glad that I've done it. I mean, she's bred really well.
Getting an S from an A plus doesn't suck, even if you start with an S plus. But yeah, that's a nice outcome.
S plus and an A plus gave me an S. Only Astro and not blood in there. So, but let me see, what all is she bred? Sorry, I don't want to take up too much of your time.
No,
but
you're fine.
This is an S, an A plus that's created 4 of her 7 offspring have been S's, correct? So, obviously taking her to you know, the most capable studs. So she's getting kind of, you know, a great opportunity there, so to speak. So, but either way. Okay, let's see here. Foal of Spirit of Ecstasy. She's an SRDF. I believe this is a hot sauce baby.
Ouch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't love that one.
Yeah.
Can't hit them all. Spirit of Past. So this was a really interesting horse. She came out her first race ever as a 2-year-old and set the record for the fastest 8 furlong of any horses of any age on any condition in right dirt, and then went on to have a very mediocre rest of her career on the track. That's cool.
I'm sensing a pattern. It's a lot of
Colt.
S Colts, yeah.
A lot of S Colts, which there is value in though. So,
for sure. And if you're just going to race them, or if you're going to race them in claimers, if we get the claim amounts to continue to rise, however slowly, and to be fair, like, so when we're getting these 200K claimers, even if you get like good S minus in there, and I don't want to talk about V1s, V2s, V4, those types of things. Like, I think everybody understands that that's probably not great, and it should resolve for itself a little bit this week. But if the best S minus Colts aren't necessarily getting claimed for 200K, at least late in the season, early in the season, I think we saw a couple of them, then maybe the claim amounts are okay for Colts. Again, obviously, I want to see fillies have an opportunity to race in claimers, which we still don't even seem to have on the runway. But yeah, maybe the claim amounts are good, but it's curious to me where if you started this in claimers, because there's enough S pluses at RDF, like what claim amount are you entering this horse in? Like on day one, are you entering this in a 275K claimer, or are you just going to try to race graded stakes and hope for the best? Or
this is the kind of horse that I think would probably get claimed at like the 250
because of the bloodline and the breeding. Yeah.
I mean, and you know, we've definitely seen horses like this go out and pull better odds and consistently beat S pluses on the track. So you just really don't know, you know. So I'd probably, to answer your question, would probably start in graded and see what we got there. If we were, you know, underperforming on the track, then we'd probably look into the claimer game. But agree, would love to have a, you know, some type of compensation made for fillies to be able to enter claimers. I know we've talked about this quite a bit in the past, but yeah, I mean, something to entice and level the playing field for fillies to be able to go in there. I don't really love the fillies only.
Right.
Like you.
Although I think we are getting close enough to we're probably now close enough to a population of horses that it could be executed better than it was when it was first rolled out. Then there was only a handful of people that had enough fillies to even think about entering those races, and you'd still have to make the claim amounts pretty high, even if the entry fee was lower. Like maybe you could do it now, but I would just still love to see horses race in the same races as the Colts. Agreed.
All right, Foal of Stargirl. Stargirl is a SRDF Gen 0. Strong preferences. S filly. That's a Benedict offspring. Would be hoping for an S plus here, obviously, but who knows what the role is. This could be a great racer on the track and a great breeder as well. So not mad at it. Foal of Star Time. So this is Stargirl Primetime offspring. S Colt. This was another Doc Blue.
It's 2 out of 3. Mm-hmm. Not great.
Yeah, not.
I mean, not
that's
not a sample size of anything, but
sure, of course. And that's where I like to go look at my reveals. Then like to go look at okay, who else bred with Doc Blue, and what were the outcomes there? And were there other good ones, and I just got the short end on a few. which is probably the case, most likely. You got to take multiple shots. That's
Right.
for sure. All right, Foal of Supersonic, SLDF Gen 0. This was a Lucy Juice breed.
Nice.
S plus filly. So we had to wait a while, but we got 2 S plus left dirt fillies. I believe the last one was a filly too, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yep. It was.
And left. Okay.
Yeah,
So
both of
Lucy
them,
Juice, making
Boy.
me proud. Happy with that. Let's go. I mean, if you'd asked me, you know, what do you want to hit the most? I'd have said, man, give me
the LDF
give
stuff.
me multiple LDF S plus fillies. Exactly. Okay, Foal of Supremacy. Supremacy is an S minus LDF Gen 0 from Ziggy. Okay. SLDF. And I think this was a Morningwood. Yep, Morningwood breed. Gives me a lot of opportunities to go take this girl elsewhere. Happy with that outcome. Foal of Timeless Spirit. Primetime Spirit of Ecstasy, Offspring, SRDF is the mother here. Okay. I think this is another dock. I think this was my last dock blue. Yep.
Yeah. Another S from an S plus and an S.
Another
too.
S, yep. Interesting. Not terribly mad at it. We'll see. And the last one, I've since renamed this horse, but this was my RTF purchase that I made here at the closing days of season 9. She was a very average racer on the track, but her first time out, the mother here, Weiss, she bred with Indian Wells and created an S plus. I kind of took a flyer here on the theory of is breeding, you know, what's the term we're using for that? Like a breeding attribute or something along those lines. Is that a real thing or not? And so I've seen enough to justify taking a flyer on it from other horses that have just consistently bred up or consistently created offspring, you know, better than you would anticipate them to. And so we went ahead and did that. And this was bred with Churro. She came pregnant with Churro.
Okay.
And of course, Churro gives an S. But still have Astro available here. A lot of different places we can take this. So happy with that. With the filly. Good Foals Day, you know, a lot of colts, but I got my fillies in the place that matters most to me, at least. And man, yeah, not mad at it at all.
For sure. Yeah, I would like to think that I'll be a little bit more measured in my reveals if I get a bunch of colts based on yours, but we know how I operate and it won't change my behavior at all. So I'll still be
That's right.
meld a little bit,
Yeah,
but
1, 2, 3. I'm counting up my S pluses. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 S pluses. Am I counting that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 S pluses this season.
would that have been, what would your over or under have been? 7, 6? Or were you hoping for more because you had 4 with Doc Blue and a dozen with Lucy Juice and some hot sauce stuff in there?
You know, I try not to get like too set on any like expectations just because anything, I mean, these are rolls at the end of the day. Anything can happen. But that's around the number that I felt would be like kind of my higher end, would be 8. You know, we did 5 last month, but we added multiple S pluses on the filly side to be breeding with this month. So I knew, you know, 5 plus had a really, really good chance, and then how much over that would we'll see. I think when I was looking at it and kind of given the what breeds do I think have a really good opportunity to make an S plus, I think I was thinking like 11. That would be like if every one of them hit, which is never going to happen, obviously.
Right.
So 8 is pretty darn good. We had a couple surprises that went up, and some that we were planning on, thought was a really strong chance of an S plus that didn't. That's just the way it goes. But overall, can never, not be happy with 8 S pluses. So
for sure. Any forward-looking thoughts, comments on either the schedule, the crown change? They're adding sprint majors. I don't know if you saw that or how in the loop you are on what season 10 is going to look like.
Well, fill me in on what are the sprint majors. Is this the same as we had last month, where the end of the first week we have some 4 furlong stuff going on for the juveniles?
It's not juvenile only, I think.
Okay.
And I don't know if Bryce is still here or not, but there is an actual tagged as a major as the race type. There's not a qualifying series for them, I don't believe. And again, shout out to Poker Player, who I think is probably still in the chat, for his sleuthing on the schedule. He's the one that keeps me best informed on it. But yeah, it seems similar to how we have a major at 10 furlongs. We will have a sprint major. I'm guessing one per each of the 4 archetypes, probably in the same day that major. So LT on LT day. Poker Player says he's not here. So yeah, there's not the qualifying series to lead up to it, and I think we've seen over the history of being live that what really makes the major, except for if you're lucky enough to be the horse to win it, is the qualifying series that leads up to that. So I don't know if the team consciously decided that they didn't want to have the qualifying series or what the rationale was there, but it's the same prize pool as the major itself. So the Kentucky Derby will have the same prize pool as an LD sprint, presumably.
Interesting. I mean, I'm a fan of it, I don't know if it should have the same prize pool, but we definitely needed something for the sprint specialist, or just anything that's not kind of your championship distance, so
For sure.
love to see that. And then what was the first part of your question?
Maybe just thoughts on the crown change. I don't know if anybody knows, maybe Poker Player, I see Bryce is there now as well, is what the actual, because I know the first day or two of claimers might have been a little bit off on what the crown allocation was, but do you think we'll see changed race behavior? Will we see smaller fields across the board? Like if every S- grade restricted race was filling 12 of 12 and we were getting V1s and V2s of that, maybe we still do there, because that's all highly competitive horses. I doubt we see 16 iterations of the same 200K claimer going forward. But do you think this is the first time people will really enter with the intent to win a race, because it's on paper not going to be free unless crown doubles or something like that?
Yeah, well, like first and foremost, I thought the team made the correct decision in the slowly kind of take away evenly distributed amount of crown each month until it runs out. I thought that was the best way to do it, instead of having some big shock to the system and a dramatic reduction. So I think what we'll see from here on out is just those types of races. People entering races is just going to be a little bit more and more and more selective as we just continue on in seasons. It's just and it also obviously has the variable of what's the price of crown currently, and that obviously plays into things. But I think we'll probably see. You won't see those random, B pluses, A minuses, and that are being thrown in an S minus restricted. I still think you're going to see full fields, just because I think for the most part, and everybody has, obviously their own opinion on things, but I think for the most part, people feel as though that that Crown is, only going to continue to go up as demand continues to increase for it. And so even though Crown is, wherever it is today, which is still really, really up, people also are looking at, not so much just what is Crown today, but what is this Crown going to be worth a month from today, 2 weeks from today, whatever. And so I think we'll continue to see those types of races continue to fill. I do think we will see less of people, the true quote unquote farming that's happened historically. I think we'll just see less and less of that moving forward.
Yeah.
Which is probably a good thing,
Yeah. Anything for me, or I don't want to make you watch 11 filly retirements and 93 foal reveals, so I'll turn it over to you and let you be the determining factor of how long you stay.
Yeah, I'll hang out for a while.
Okay. All right. Well, then I'm gonna grab the screen back then, and we'll do the filly retirements first. Now, again, most people would probably just continue to race these for a week. Some of them would have some prospects, but in large part, you'll see some of them don't. And this was a byproduct of racing because racing was free. So if we talk on that from a global perspective, hitting the board 4 times in 18 starts at the S level, hitting the board 5 times without a win in 20 starts at the S level, hitting the board while getting first or second once out of 16, hitting the board twice out of 16, not hitting the board out of 15. Like, these horses are horses that aren't going to race in season 10 the way things are constructed. Same here, 2 out of 17. That was kind of the logic to my commentary, and I don't think you said anything to contradict that at all. But obviously they're valuable pieces when you look at 8 preferences at RTF, 9 preferences at RTF. So we're happy to have the horses, but it's just something that we'll identify fairly early on that we're not going to be racing these long in season 10 if we get the same type of result. So we'll retire by grade here. Really no expectations. We'll just see if we see any crazy outlier stats. It should have been a sprinter, and I think I did race it there. Yeah, I mean, I basically raced it wherever I could. It's nothing too crazy. This one was pretty awful. And if we talk consistency of outcomes, like Jasmine would be the Gen 0. And I forget who, someone asked to buy the entire Jasmine bloodline because it was like the name of their daughter. I should have totally taken them up on that because it hasn't been great. I guess getting speed as opposed to start makes sense. Temper weighing this one down completely. Went to Mars. Yeah. I mean, it could be just a case of trying to bring an A- up too fast every time. When you do with an S, that's a pretty big jump to go up, and maybe that's why it's not working. This one was the one that was actually dominant. Like, we raced this and not even just for farming purposes, because it would win all of the A+ restricted stakes. It ran where was it? A 12 furlong, 2-minute 31 time at 82 fleet figure. Like, that is one of the top 10 regardless of grade based on gap data. So this one I think is going to have a big time finish and probably big time stamina. And there's going to be something that kept this an A+, because this is an A+ 25 total boost with maybe the second or third best S- sire from a total boost standpoint. So you would have thought base case is probably a low S-, and the fact that it was dominant makes me think it just crapped out on speed or crapped out on start. So we'll see what we have here. Maybe heart, speed, okay. And yeah, S finish. So exactly more or less what we thought. And again, it's just tricky. You would rather have that A at start, not at speed. So I don't know how you rehabilitate that, but we'll go to the S- next. Maybe start with crappy ones and get into some of the better ones from a race result standpoint. I value the bloodlines different than the race results, but So move that over, we'll move that over, and then bring this back. Okay, so yeah, the one that just literally couldn't hit the board. Another case of maybe just bringing it up too quickly. Or maybe Mars is a late peaking horse. These are two with Mars that were just fairly awful, for lack of a better term. Lily, again, really hadn't consistently put out good offspring either. That's interesting. That's actually not even that bad of a reveal. I'll totally take that. Getting the S temper, S stamina, and just kind of crapping out on the sprint stats is totally fine. Not unexpected at the LTS, but here's a bloodline that's worked really well for us. Ruby was the one that made one of the two horses you asked to track is named Not for Sale. That is Blood Moon, which is an S-, and Ruby, which made like an 8 preference S. And it's the first non-one of one LTS S. So that hits the track this season. We're very excited about that. This is a horse that's consistently put out like breeding up in grade, but not necessarily great racing record, as is the case here as well. And that's because it crapped out on temper. Otherwise, nothing wrong with those. Another one you would think would be better on paper than it was. Mercury's been a great breeder for us. It actually put out the major winner. We took an A+ and an S- and won a major. But this one just really couldn't find the right distance, even if I tried, I think, a few spots. Oh, no, I did try to sprint, but I think I was warranted in some of that. Because it had start, yeah. So I didn't even race it wrong. It just didn't get stamina, which has to be a bad roll because stamina and finish are Mercury's kind of two best things. But a decent speed, like maybe this is something you can just lean into this sprint tendencies going forward then. Then we get to the two S- that were actually pretty good. Grace is Gone is another one that has bred consistently good racers. It is an A+ from a 1 of 1. Those are the types of things you need to watch out for if you're not paying attention. This is one we inbred on purpose to start, but it's easily one you would accidentally inbreed because you see an A+ and think there's no way that has a 1 of 1 in it. But it's a shame it's got a 1 of 1 because it really has put out good racers. Speed and stamina. That's a weird combination for a horse that actually was pretty competent. Maybe a mid-distance horse. I think that's where we actually had some success with it too. Yeah. Makes sense. And then another one that just really pulled good odds. It felt like it got better later. I don't know if it's because I just raced it more correctly later. We went with Apollo Lucy, which is pretty solid. A+ Gen 0. What we've done historically is we've sold an awful lot of the Gen 1 fillies because I'm trying to prepare myself for whatever inbreeding concerns would come up. So if I keep a Gen 2 or Gen 3, I by definition have less options. Now maybe I'm giving myself less variance to the upside. If we think the more generations in you go, the more variance you have, good and bad. I'm realistically capping my upside if that is true. But it is just how we're approaching it. So you won't see us reveal too many that would be Gen 2s or Gen 3s, even if we had the assets for it. The 3 S's we'll get to reveal. Juno is a S- Gen 0. Again, same thing. We don't have a lot of Juno's offspring. Couple, but not a ton. Wasn't a great racer. Nothing Juno did was a great race. Well, I guess only raced once, but I think I saw the odds and didn't like it. So, but really excited about this bloodline. It's no secret that we've tried to target longer distances in all 3 of the archetypes we run in, and that's why we have leaned heavily into Apollo. We'll see some one-eyed blind stuff that we bred hit the track this season. That was another one that I think it was the Foal of Driving Miss Daisy. I forget what we renamed it to. That went to Persian Bold, which is a Gen 0 S- with an A+ and made an S as well. So that'll be a an S colt with 0 1-of-1s in it that might not prefer to sprint. So we're excited about that horse hitting the track as well. But excited about getting these 3 in the breeding barn and trying to improve over time. And super balanced, plenty to work with there. Didn't bomb out on anything. Can use basically anything going forward. Faith is another one that has done very well as a breeder fairly consistently. This is the one that it'll have an S plus hit the track as early as today, that we sold to Tad, who snap bought it 11 minutes after listing. But this is another case where like progeny on the filly side is actually a lot more useful. Oh, sorry, Keep the Faith, which was the first foal of Faith, made the S plus. But all of these have, I mean, been pretty good racers as well. So good racers, breeding up pretty consistently. Things that I'm paying attention to, whether or not I can make a conclusive statement on whether there's a quote unquote breeding gene or something else at play. Like the S temper in this case. I know some people don't love it. Probably would have preferred to switch stamina and finish there. But again, balanced across the board. Has only got 1 1-of-1 in it. Like, so much you can do with that horse going forward. So we're finally getting excited. Like, we did the slow and steady. Like all of our power on the filly side for the most part was at the A+ level. And they're finally getting to the point where the offspring they're making are only include 1 1-of-1 S's that you can just like that piece, you can completely move up. And then on the other end of the spectrum, our true, what should be top tier GOAT, which was one of the best, if not the best, RTF racers at the Gen 0. And Diana was probably the best S-, and at least initially. At RTF, have just totally crapped the board, or shit the bed, whatever you want to say. We went with better than most here. It was not better than the GOAT. It was better than very few in hindsight. It's probably just a misalignment of stats. Now, if you take an S- with a S, you're probably asking for a poor S- or a lower, or sorry, a poor S or a lower S. But we tried to race it everywhere. I'm guessing it's got some start, and then it's probably got like stamina or finish. But I think it crapped out at speed probably, because it's just not good. And on paper, there's just not that many fillies that should be better than it. So it gets the S+ start. I bet that's a really low S- speed. It's not even a bad reveal. It's just, I don't know, it was not a good horse. So that is all of the retirees. We'll take those to the breeding barn and, like I said, hopefully improve our chances. Now is the part that I don't know if everybody tunes in for, if I'm like Castro of pack reveals for FIFA Ultimate Team at this point. I've taken the suggestions of the people and we have sorted by age. I still want to do it my way. Because I want to do it my way of skipping or going very quickly through the horses I don't care too much about. I think you guys will appreciate that as well, because ultimately there's a lot of them. I think we onboarded 93 horses this time. So I will skip past a few that I know by name or pieces that I care about. So there shouldn't be too much of a reaction on the ones that I'm revealing for now. Full of Anna. It's an RTS A. Stays A. I don't know where we would have went to it with breeding. In large part for breeding, most of our RTF stuff went to Jupiter, which is our own Gen 0 Astro, the highest rarity Astro Gen 0 at RTF. Some of it went to Dirty Diana, which is a Jupiter Diana offspring. At LDF, we went to Jimmy Squarefoot, which is the first S colt from 9924 that is an LDF colt. This is the second month in a row we did that. If we can get a result, or other people maybe brick a result, I don't know if Riptide's in the chat, but he's used it twice. And he got a filly the first time, which is an S filly. He used Scuba Stephanie, which is the horse that's put out a lot of S+ for them. I think if he doesn't get a great result this time, we may use Jimmy Squarefoot a third time. And then at LTS, we used a combination of Saturn, which is our own 9925, and I think probably Pluto, which is the second lowest rarity of the 9924s. So we'll skip Ape. That's one we would be somewhat excited about. or nervous about, one of the two. S minus filly from Autumn, we'll take that. Bed of Roses. Again, for the people that are maybe potentially new, if it's a singular name like Ape, Alice, that, or Anna, that signifies that the dam, in this case, the female that produced the horse, was a Gen 0. If it's 2 or more, that likely means, well, it does mean that it's a Gen 1 dam or filly producing the horse. There's a couple we bought that isn't true, but for in large part it is. Take that. Nice preferences, filly, LTS. Take that. Bloody Mary Morning was actually a really good racer for us. Mary, I think in general, has been pretty good. S Colt, do we have any selling points to this? There's probably 2 101s in this, right? Yeah. So probably not much in the way of breeding prospects, but an A+ with an S making an S is something we'll take from a racing standpoint for sure. Blue Jasmine, like I said, I probably should have just taken the guy up and selling the entire Jasmine bloodline, but S minus filly, we'll take that. So far, a good start on gender. Brooklyn. What did that hit? Brooklyn was an A+ with basically the same preferences as that. So if this was Jimmy Squarefoot, this is probably, oh no, an A. Sorry, never mind. That's fine then. I was thinking it was an A+. So then, yeah, we've got 3 straight from Brooklyn here. Brooklyn Baby, Brooklyn's Finest would be Gen 1s, if not Gen 2s. An S filly, we like that. S minus Colt, that's what we call a brick, because I think that would have been an S minus with an S. Christopher Morel, so this is one case where we just bought the horse after live. It is a Gen 0 RTF, I believe. Then it makes an S minus filly. We'll take that. Claire's one we bought super late. We raced it through the 6-year-old season, I believe. So this is only the second foal from Claire. So this is one we super care about. So we'll come back to it. We'll Cry Me a River. S minus filly. I'm liking all these fillies. Hopefully that doesn't mean we're going to brick the ones we care about. Well, Daisy. We're going to come back to both of these because Driving Miss Daisy is the one that put out the S last time, I believe. A couple from Ember here. A+ filly. Ember Moon. Something tells me that's a bit to the downside. Oops. I guess I agree. Yeah, A+ and an S stays A+. It's a Colt, so that's got a future in claimers for sure. Endless Summer here. S minus LDF or LDF. Yeah, the gender's good. It makes me nervous for the pieces I care about. Okay, we talked about how Faith had a really good bloodline across the board, even the offspring of that. So super nice preferences there. Actually, like weirdly high preferences because I think this would have went to just a run-of-the-mill. Well, I say run-of-the-mill, but a 101. Yeah, so to go from 2.5 on average and left, go from a 2.5 average turf, and then on kind of a 1.75, and then go up to 2.5 on soft, like that doesn't suck. I guess it did average out on the other two, but a really big up roll on soft there. You get the middling outcome of the S minus, but maybe an interesting piece for claimers. It at least has the sex appeal with all the preferences. S minus. Maybe another one that is slightly lower than we would have thought on grade, but not super consequential. Okay, this is the one that has Grace's A+ that has 9924 in it, so this one's kind of a dead end. That'll be another claimer. We're gonna come back to that one. Might even come back to these two. A+ Colt. Ivy is an A+ LTS that TriStar's kind of cornered the market on. It's consistently put out good racers, despite kind of being a mediocre looking Gen 0 ticket. We'll take the S- Philly there. S Colt. Jackie Kennedy must have been an S-, but that's a pretty good outcome. A+ Philly. We'll come back on Jane. Janie's got a gun. Here's Jasmine. Again, forever disappointing from a racer standpoint. A+ Colt. That's going in claimers. Juniper has been really good. That's the one that made the major winner. So we'll come back on those three. We'll come back on Juno, which we just retired that 3-year-old filly. We'll come back on Juno McGuff, which would be the first offspring of Juno. Keep the Faith we'll come back on. Get to the ones that are less consequential and go through them a little bit quicker. Okay. Maybe we're getting all the Colts out of the way here now. Come back there. Come back on all of those. Take that. That's actually from an A, right? I think this is Saturn with an A filly, and like I said, that Bloody Mary bloodline, which should have been an offspring of Mary, has been good. I don't know why this page doesn't want to load. Hopefully it doesn't make me want to log in again. Okay. Yeah, take an S- there, Philly. Maybe good. Mary's Song would have been an offspring of Mary. Gets an S. It's a pretty big result on a grade. I think it's probably from an S-, but take that. Okay. Melody is kind of borderline one that I would say we would come back on. It's another one we bought late into the game, bought the ticket. The same time we bought Claire, I believe, although this one we retired shortly after buying it. A+ LTS. I love that. Holy smokes. That's a good one. Love that. Yep. We take those. Miss Lippy's put out good racers. I think this was initially a Ghost Horse that went to Soulmates. This is a Gen 0. It has 2 names because it wasn't ours to begin with. An A Colt. So that might be pretty good. A+ grade restricted racer. It's an A bred with an S, I believe. Okay. Old Trafford's another Gen 0 we bought after the fact. It's made some pretty good LDF pieces as well. Claimer. One more page is RTF. Okay. S Philly. I think that's an S- with, must be with Jupiter. Yeah. It's got 2 1-on-1s in it already, so it'll be a bit challenged to breed up from there, but you'll always take an S from an S- or an S. Page is the A+ Gen 0. Take that. Come back on Princess Diana. We'll do the other princess though. Not too enchanting, pun intended. Full of Reagan. S- Colt. River is a A- Gen 0, so that's a nice punchy result there. I'm guessing that went to Dirty Diana to keep the preferences. We can look, I guess, but not a super consequential piece. But anytime you can get a filly with some good preferences, people seem to like that. Oh, went to Jupiter, so that's even probably better. Another one where you take 1.5 firm, 1.5 firm, mix it together, and somehow get 2. So we like that. Do we sell a horse? Oh, that must be season-ending stimmies. As I said, we only have 1 horse listed, and I don't think it's going to sell. River of Dreams. So again, an offspring of River. We like that. Let's see what we got here. Just wondering which ones went to, oh, this went to Mercury. Maybe we didn't use Dirty Diana at all internally then. So this is a real nice result. A+ with an S- makes an S- filly. Take that. I haven't had anything to get mad about, but maybe that's just a case of not using the pieces that would make me mad. Or revealing those yet. Okay. Okay, so this one, Rosé was one of the Walter White experiments that we made early. So we were there as early as anybody. This went to Dirty Diana. So this has got 2 1-of-1s in it. So it's probably not anything marketable from a breeding standpoint. If we would have got a filly there, you could have kept it going, but we'll take the S for sure. We'll come back on all the Ruby ones. That's LTS A+, the highest total boosted A+ LTS. Okay, fine with that. The Rage Panther horses. S- is a pretty big step up, I think. I think Sage is an A. Okay. Not bad. Let's see what we did here. Jupiter with an S-. That's already got big A in there. So again, another one that's maybe a little bit challenged. Like these are the types of horses that longer term we'll maybe have to go to the monkey tennis versions of the world that have 9925 in it, or maybe use our own Walter White experiments that didn't go super well. Will be dependent upon kind of the market price on some of these. Okay. Like that. Savannah is an A, I think. Maybe even an A-. A-. Yeah, that's a punchy result. Take it. Looks good on paper. We'll maybe come back on Saving Grace. It's another one that's borderline. We could probably have just ripped it now. Not great. Come back on that one. Diana. The population of horses I'm saying we're going to have to come back on is surprisingly large, even to me. Full page turner. Okay, an S- with an S- makes an S. It does have 1 1-of-1 in it. Jupiter back 1 generation, but that's a super nice piece then, because that can go to basically anything going forward, and eventually the Astro will fall off that. So we like that. Come back on. We ripped Melody, right? So we'll do on Chain Melody as well. An S filly, we'll take that. I think this is going to have 2 1-of-1s in it, though. Yeah, Saturn and Mars. Probably goes to Pluto next, would be my guess. Come back on the Violet stuff. Whopper, another Gen 0, but one we bought after the fact. A+ filly. That starts A+ too, so that's probably a mediocre result, but we'll take the filly. Definitely, certainly getting... seems like a pretty good amount of fillies. All right, A+ filly from A Gen 0, I believe. S- filly. That's it. Okay. All right, now the consequential crap. Last season was fairly devastating at RTF, even by objective standards. LTS went really well, and LDF was pretty good. Again, LDF is the one where we're really running the 9924 ticket window, which is native to LDS, not LDF. We're running a lot of experiments, hot and heavy there. So we didn't get an S+ there last. We didn't get any S+s last time. I think we have a few chances this time, especially using Jupiter. It wouldn't surprise me if we got 1 or 2 at RTF. And then it just wouldn't surprise me if we got 1 across the board. I think expectations are probably 1 to 3 on the total S plus count for us. So watch me get 0. Alice is an A plus LTS. It's like one of the top 5 total boost A plus LTSs. Melody's above it, Ruby's above it that we both own, and then there's a couple that we weren't able to acquire. S minus Philly, love that. Ape, as far as Astro S LDF Gen Zeros, it's Ape Delta, and then the YSM guys have one that's a little bit lower down in total boosts. Ape and Delta are only like 6 rarity apart. This as high as you could go with Astro at the S level, even higher than any of the Colts are. This is a piece that's made 1S plus previously. I'm not expecting an S plus here because I think Jimmy Squarefoot's a little bit on the lower end of S Colts because it's from an S minus and an S, and the breeding reports kind of suggest the same. But God, I would love an S plus here. At least a Philly, if not, please. As expected. That made the horse named Ted, which Soulmates just bought. And it's got a couple running. I know Rolo, I know was on with YSM, but he'd bought Bored Ape, which is a pretty good S minus. Claire, so S minus RTF, really good preferences, no 1 of 1s. Same sire as Better Than Most, which is a unique S minus, but that's the only thing that you would run into problems on. So this probably would have went to Jupiter, or I guess I don't know what I did with it for sure. We'll look. I definitely want a Philly here to keep going. No, but we get a Colt. I mean, that's maybe not bad. Or sorry, an S. Went to Jupiter. Problem is anybody that's used Better Than Most or Indian Wells, Jupiter, or the like can't use this, but maybe it's a good racer. It's not going to be much for breeding. So we're 0 for 2 on the pieces that really matter, keeping out the A pluses. By far, I think the most disappointing piece we've had is Diana's 9 of 9 S minus. It was a great racer. It has not bred really anything other than Dirty Diana, which was the first foal from it that was useful for breeding, but even itself wasn't a great racer. So I am fully expecting this to disappoint. Right on cue. I mean, you'll take an S, but I don't know. Driving Miss Daisy, I think this is not really a consequential piece. It just made a really nice piece last month. Yeah, that's fine. Goat, again, as far as RTF Gen 0 racers went, this was, in my opinion, the best. Another one that's honestly disappointed a lot. It's made a lot of S minuses. It's been bred to S minuses a lot, but it's made a lot of S minuses. I think this went to Jupiter, which again, from a rarity standpoint, is as high as it goes at RTF. Like, there's a case that this is an S plus. It is not. It's a Philly. Goat's Head Soup. This is the first Jupiter goat. So I said this is the second iteration of it. I think this is the first iteration of it. So this would have had to have gone to, it must have went to Mercury because it's got the 2 1 of 1s in it. Okay. Man. Have a little faith. I think this might be the one that put out the S plus that Ted bought from us. I get some of these confused, but Faith has been a good breeder across the board. S minus Philly. Kind of disappointing result. Hazel's the A plus RTF. Another one that's been pretty disappointing across the board. But the racers have been good. Just the outcomes have been bad. Okay. I mean, that's super nice preferences. What did we do on the breed? I mean, it's an A plus to make an S. You can't complain about that. Okay. That's maybe useful. I know, shout out to Sir Brad, just pointed out, maybe stopping short of brag, that he had the most total preferences from a Jupiter offspring. It might have been 8.5. This is 8. I think Dirty Diana's 8 or 7.5 as well. So something we'll probably eventually use. Now the thing is, Hazel and Diana have the same exact sire, so it's not a unique bloodline at all. But if it somehow ends up being better than Dirty Diana, we would use it as a breeder. Hazel-eyed chemist, again, chemist meaning Walter White. So this was that experiment to bring 9924 early into RTF. That experiment has been a colossal failure for our stable. As Colt, I mean, good preferences, but same thing. You're running on similar sires. It's probably got Jupiter and Walter White in it, so it can only use Scuba that's native there. So some of these get challenged pretty quickly, and again, the Colt count is adding up. A+ RTF here is Jane. Slightly worse than Hazel on paper. Definitely worse than Hazel was on the track, but it's one of our better fillies from the Gen 0 perspective. Gets an S Colt, so that's 2 A+ to an S from, I would assume, Jupiter. Janie's Got a Gun would be one of Jane's offspring. I can't remember the sire on this one. Take an S-. So if this, there's no way this is got Walter White in it, right? Oh, it does. Okay. So this has got 2 1-of-1s in it, but can use Scuba or whatever else other people have put together. So an S with an S- stays an S-. Maybe it's a good racer first season. Really not a great firm result. And there's the answer to the Dirty Diana versus this new Hazel one, is they're the same total preferences, 8th. Juniper, again, not expecting this to be a crazy reveal, because at the end of the day, it's not even as good as Jane or Hazel from A+ on paper. But the racers have always been really good. S- filly. Juniper Blossom was a great racer. S- Colt, that sucks. Juniper Lemon was a good racer. Again, all of these would be initial offspring of Juniper, which is the A+. So getting an S wouldn't be out of the range of possibilities, or at least give me a filly, please. How about both? We'll take that. See what we did there. Guessing Jupiter. Dirty Diana. So yeah, it's got the 2 native RTF 1-of-1s in it already, but it's good preferences. We'll have to get creative going forward on it, but certainly take the result. Juno is that S- LDF non 1-of-1, not many total boosts. So it's been a struggle. We retired that 3-year-old that hasn't been a great racer, but when you start with Gen 0 at an S- level, means you know 1-of-1s in it. Like getting to an S without including 1-of-1s is possible. Like breeding this longer term is always the idea with some of those horses. An S. So this might be exactly what I'm talking about, and this might be what I was talking to GVG about. Is when I asked him, when he was using Lucy Juice with his RDF pieces, he was using pieces that I'd already had 1-of-1s in it. I said, why wouldn't you maybe instead use unique blood and bring in that unique sire to that archetype? So I think this is going to be Jimmy Squarefoot, which is 9924, which didn't exist naturally at LDF, with an S- firm horse. So yeah, only 1-of-1, and it's not one that exists at LDF. So this is a nice piece. That's not going anywhere. That's not racing in claimers. And that's one I actually probably preferred to have the Colt in the event that it's better than Jimmy Squarefoot. Juno McGuff would be an offspring of Juno. S- filly. It probably feels bad, but at least it stays a filly. Keep the Faith might have been the one that made it S+. I forget. Makes a nice S filly here. Take that. Losing My Faith. Again, another Faith offspring. S- filly. Take that. 3 from Lucy here. Lucy would be like an 8.5 total boost, or sorry, total preference. LDF A+. I know this was an S-. This is probably an S-. This was a decent racer. Lucy was a decent racer. Not over the top on the racing, but another case where maybe you take an A+ to an S and get an S would be lovely here. I wouldn't care about the gender then. Otherwise, I want a filly. S minus filly. Okay, I'll take that. Nothing wrong there. S colt. This probably has Apollo in it already. So General Duke on Yukon, which is Astro, so it's not terrible. 2 1-of-1s, but not the ones you would have expected, and one that's not even at LDF to begin with. That's a brick. God, we're getting close to the bottom of these, I feel like, already. And the best chances are already dried up. Princess Diana. I think this stayed S minus. Diana was that 9 of 9. S minus. This had worse preferences, I think. This was a total disaster of a breed. Get an S Cole. The only thing that would make this okay is if it was from Walter White. Okay, it is, but still. Same thing. We got 2 1-of-1s, one occurring naturally. I just don't see anybody's likely to use this unless it's an absolutely dominant racer somehow. 3 from Ruby, again, the top total preference, total boost, A plus LTS. This is the Gen 0. These would be offspring. Like I said, Ruby went with an S minus a couple months ago and made an S. So some of these have been pretty good breeding up outcomes. S minus, but good preferences. Not great. Fuck. Holy smokes, guys. Saving Grace. This one that has been obviously a good racer for the most part. Not really super consequential piece there. Colt. Okay, finally. It's another case where LTS has gone really well for us, and RTF is just completely shitting on us. 2 1-of-1s, but doesn't have 9924 in it yet. And we can eventually breed this with the unique 1-of-1, or so the unique S we made with no inbreeding concerns. So that's a piece we'll be pretty excited about. Alice hasn't turned out great racers, but I'll take the breeding result. Full of the Diana I knew. I think this went to Big A, and it'd be Diana and Big A, and maybe made an S. So this would maybe be another chance, but not a great chance at an S plus. S Philly. Let's see if I was right. I think this is an S and an S making an S. Yes. Get the Philly. We'll take it. Year of the Goat. Think this is Goat and Mercury that made an S. Would have bred with an S this time, so this would be another chance at an S plus that will brick. On cue. I mean, we're still getting an S here. If this is an S minus initially, oh, it wasn't. So again, hopefully a super strong racer. It's got 2 1-of-1s in it, so it's a little bit challenged to see breeding prospects for it. Is what it is. Violet A plus LDF 9 of 9, 25 total boost, and then Violet Hill I think made an S, so that would be a curious one. I don't think we have a chance at an S plus, but this should be an S minus or better here. Hopefully Philly. Fuck. Okay. Take a look at this one. Yeah, so these are the ones I'm going to be curious about, because this was an S and an A plus together, which you would think would make like an S minus on average. It makes an S, so you would assume it would be a low S. It only hits the board once in 11 tries, probably confirming it's a low S. Then you look at the stack grades, like, yeah, it's probably closer to an S minus. So now do we strengthen this horse? Again, Jimmy Squarefoot, almost the same analysis of it's just a very average S at best. Be curious to see that one. Are we done? Oh my God. 93 and no S plus. We're done. Wow. Okay. Well, we'll have 100+ bites at the apple next time by. I think we did well on the pieces I thought were sort of inconsequential pieces, getting fillies, getting decent preferences, getting decent rolls up. I thought the pieces that mattered, again, continue to certainly disappoint. LTS has been strong. We got some good LTS outcomes there. RTF is challenging my faith a little bit on. We haven't gotten to an S plus there. Regardless, we didn't have one to sell at RTF, and we started with the best Astro Colt. We started with the best Scuba filly. We started with a 9 of 9 S minus filly, and just haven't gotten there. So I don't know if that's just because the stats of RTF as it started didn't line up very well. It was so lacking in speed, you couldn't get to S plus very quickly. Obviously, we've seen a couple cases where people have gotten to S plus. Vijay hit the moon shot with a crazy breed up to S plus that Commission bought. Obviously, we've seen She's the One got there immediately with Mr. B's Secretariat. He's got a couple cents, but from that same bloodline, from the S plus itself. I don't know that She's the One has gotten an S plus sense. And then obviously Monkey Tennis got there, but he's starting with one of, in my opinion, like the 3 best assets in the game with Serena Star, with a unique no 1 of 1 S filly at RTF. Let's poke around a little bit to see what other people got. If there's any questions in the chat, I'll certainly take a look through those. But at this point, I just want to see if there's any crazy results for other stables. Grab these 3. Then we'll go to, we'll grab a bunch, just thumb through super quick. I already grabbed Ted, right? Yeah. What? I already had Breaking Bad too. I don't need that one. See how many S pluses Eddie pulled off. See if Vijay, frequent guest, got anything. Look at poker players quick. Maybe Baltazar, YSM, and then maybe we'll call it. So we'll go through these pretty quick, and I'm only concerned about what we got for Foals that are 0. So no S pluses from Tad. That's not surprising. I think I'm a broken record on it, saying that as much as Ted has bought, it's hard for me to consider him a top 5 stable from like a what are the sum of your assets worth standpoint, because he just doesn't have the mares that all the other stables have. He'll get there eventually. Maybe he'll buy his way there. Soulmates, he gets one at LTS. Let's check if that, and RDF. So you get 2, 3, okay, 4, 5. Jesus, 5, 2 at LTS. I guess is the only ones I care about personally. So Aruba, Scuba Puff. So it's got the 3 1-of-1s in it. That's the thing that I've tried to avoid doing, is getting 3 1-of-1s when there's only 3 1-of-1s, because it's a Colt. I don't think anything's going to breed with it, in my opinion, because it's got all 3. But certainly should be a great racer. We got here Perlino. He finally retired and finally used, but another one that's got all 3 of the 1-of-1s in it. It's a Colt, so maybe great racer. Don't see anybody personally breeding with those. Breaking Bad. He's got a couple here. Okay. This one I'm curious about. Rosalita was the Gen 0 that Mr. B had sold them very early in the process. One he'd probably regret a little bit, maybe. See if there's anything else here on these that I care a ton about. Maybe just this one. Went to Churro. So yeah, getting an S plus there is not unexpected. That's, I mean, if I have to temper my own expectations, is when when GVG rolls off 8 S pluses, he's breeding with S pluses like 25 times. We didn't breed with a single S plus since the game started. Swift Sapphire finally gets there. We bought that womb. It didn't get there for us, but it did give us a pretty good piece. Just one for Big Brain right there. So another place where I'd have to level set my expectations if they're only getting one. And he went to Lucy Juice. So again, same thing I just said. If you want an S plus, sometimes you just have to use an S plus, it seems. Right Turf, they didn't get there. Like I said, Right Turf just seems quite difficult. What did they do with Ferriston Land gets a Colt? That's not a great outcome there. It is a horse I care about because I think it's a unique RTF. PJJ, let me get back to, oh, he used ours. I probably wouldn't have done that breed, but I get it is interesting to try to have Walter White. PJJ, can you link it one more time? I'll grab it. I don't want to have to scroll back up, even if it's not super far back up. And then shout out to Winterland. I always appreciate new stables. If you have questions, it doesn't matter how hard or how easy the question may be. Certainly willing to try to answer any questions to the benefit of everybody at that point. And we definitely are in the Q&A portion. Crap. One more time, PJJ. I just got to the Twitch on my monitor. Copy paste one more time. I can't post it from the StreamYard, so or otherwise I'll just try to pull it up. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so we got Full of Triple Crossing, S plus RTS. We like that. We like that it's a filly. What did we do here? The downgrade, which was an uber dominant horse. So you got a couple one-on-ones worked in here, Astro, but if you're going to stay RTS, Astro doesn't matter. Astro barely counts as a one-on-one. Yeah, an S minus. Yeah, I don't know why I wouldn't love that. That's a stellar outcome. Obviously, your preferences aren't overly strong crossing from RDS to RTF, or RTS, but I think you just keep working that direction. And then this is a piece that could hit anything that JPEG Lords put out from an S plus level, or even it's a case where maybe you want to try to consolidate the good outcome and just breed with an SRTS with really great preferences to still give you a chance at an S plus, but ultimately kind of rehabilitate the preferences a little bit. It probably will struggle the race, I think, in my opinion. I think having one of the three have low preferences seems like something you can do, even if that's somewhat of an uphill climb in and of itself, but having two seems challenging. But I mean, an S plus from an S plus and an S minus is a pretty stellar result for sure. We would take that in a heartbeat. We look through Big Brain Right Turf. Did Mr. B get there? She's the boss. So like I said, RT has really struggled getting there. He got there once with She's the Boss, and then has gotten there 2 times since with She's the Boss, at least for foals. But even She's the One hasn't gotten there again. And he went to Churro, so an S plus and an S plus, making an S plus is not anything to write home about. That's more or less the expectation at that point. So yeah, I'm maybe talking myself into, if I want to complain about having no S pluses, I should probably use an S plus to breed with once or twice. shout out to D-Stables. I know the last stream was about me buying a bunch of their tokens, and then I was probably the reason Crown tanked, because I suggested Crown as a portion of their bag more or less substantiated the price of the token itself, not financial advice. Do your own research. But then, yeah, Crown went up to like 110 and then down to whatever it is now, which I think is meaningfully lower than there. But I do think we'll get back. Just wanted to see if OAB got there. Shout out to OAB. Guy hasn't sold a damn thing. He's got more horses than anybody but Soulmates, maybe. He might even have more than Soulmates. But yeah, just an absolute legend. Oh, I guess he did sell some recently, but I don't think until maybe this last season or two, those numbers were like nothing. I don't know if Bryce is in the audience or not, but it would be nice if you could do like because I don't want to look at just season 10. I don't want to look at just season 9. I want to look through like season 1 through 8 to see what they did through a period of time, as opposed to one individual season. If you could aggregate seasons, that'd be great. But just a legendary dude. He's got quite the powerhouse stable and quantity for sure. And now, I mean, he started with a lot of lower total preferences, lower total boost, lower grade. And obviously, once you just play the volume game, it results in a lot of S's eventually. We benefit from the same volume game for sure. See what we got. Anything oh, they did get one at the Big Brain left. Shout out to the Big Brain guys. Oh my God, they got 4. Including one in my neighborhood, 2 in my neighborhood, LTS and LDF. Well, we'll look through them all quick here, I guess. I'm less concerned about the LDS ones, but the soft is so small that they'll probably race LDF anyways. So Lucy Juice with an S. If you want an S+, breed with an S+. Here's a good one. Wow. S- and an S makes S+. You love that. So an S+ with only one of one in it at LTS is going to be super interesting to follow. This might be the first example of it, honestly. We got to S+ at LTS a couple seasons ago, but it had 2. One thing I would say is all of the that LTS were those are the ones that kind of Pocono has a lot of. JPEG Lord has a couple. Those can't use this, obviously, because this is 9924. It would be inbreeding. So it would have to be anything outside of those. So it doesn't have like the most clear path to breeding a ton or getting a ton of covers, but I'm sure it'll get used a bunch. So that's a nice piece for them. Dozier. So 2 1-of-1s, but again, Astro really isn't at LDS, and then you're bringing it over there. Dozier's made a couple S+s. We should probably maybe go back and use Yukon, which is somewhat similar, a little bit less than Dozier, but the breeding reports look the same. So Dozier gets used because it shows you the face value 3 S+ stats, but if you look at breeding reports between the two, they're actually really close. And I think if you wanted a longer distance horse, you could actually make a pretty good case that you should probably prefer Yukon. It's been a long time since I've looked at it. The moral of my story there is I should just use Yukon myself. We have it. We've only used it once. Let's see what else we got. That's a good result there, though. So that's 2 of them where they didn't even use an S+. Make it 3. 2 1-of-1s, but you'll take that. I mean, those are the 2 1-of-1s that exist naturally at LDS, so it's tough to see where it would have a ton of breeding value. But if it's a great racer, he's not going to care. Let's see if Good Guy Ghost got anything. He did not for S+s. Again, this is the oh how rich. Look at everybody's S+s, and I'm obviously cognizant that it takes a lot of money to even be in a position to have a chance at an S+. That doesn't mean there isn't a place for everybody in the game. Let's see if we got there for Sowers and Tombstone. He got 2. He'll take that, I think. Big Nose Kate is a Gen 0 S2, so if, I'm guessing he used S+, but yeah, S+ with an S. S+ with an S, but I mean, you'll take that because they each only had 2 1-on-1, so there's at least options there, and they were they both fillies? No, one filly, one colt. They'll take that. Monkey Tennis get any? He did with a creative breed. Oh, no, that's 1-year-old. No, he didn't get one this season. I'm going to spend a little more time here because I do like to pay attention to RTF because it's all the things we've talked about of trying to advance. RTF has been difficult for everybody involved. Oops. I want to leave the stable up, but I do want to know what this one is. I want to know what this one is. These are his 2 Primo Gen 0 RTF S fillies. No 1-of-1s, although they do share the same sire. He went to Tres Leches, got an S. Gets a filly, he'll like that because he can use any of the 1-of-1s, but probably was hoping for a chance at an S+. And then he takes 2.5 firm to 2 soft. It's probably wanted that half-star firm, but no one's going to quibble over half-star firm, I don't think, as long as it still says firm there, or longer term maybe. Good, not great result. If we do the spectrum of how much would Stens complain about getting that reveal if that was his horse, I probably would have complained a lot about it. So just tells you when I can be more objective about other people's reveals, I'm less stressed by it. Venus Vibes, good preferences. Stays an S filly, went to Indian Wells in-house, kind of second in charge from the Astros, just behind Jupiter. He probably wanted an S+ there, but he'll take the S filly for sure. Not bad. Certainly a lot more going on there, but as the seasons go, it's harder and harder for me to pay attention to. Like, I know Steffi is a Gen 0, but all the other ones that are Gen 1s, Gen 2s, I don't know the bloodlines as well. So while I know like Champagne Problems has been an interesting horse, I don't know them as well, so it's hard for me to evaluate. Steffi goes to Tres Leches, stays firm, which it should have. Loses a little bit on preferences, but S and an S- gets S. Some Tres Leches uses there. What does he get that priced at it in the breeding barn? Let's go to breeding. Trace. Okay, 35,000. That's not actually that bad. It's one we haven't used yet, but I kind of just assumed everybody had got there in all the meaningful ways before us, and therefore I was not as interested. But maybe I should. Goes to Durban Poison. Okay, so that's a pretty disappointing result there. You take a pretty well-bred S to the top. Scuba RTF Colt, get a Colt and get an S. All right, few to unpack here, I'm sure. Just got 100 acres consistently puts out good horses. I know poker players onto that for sure. 2, just 2 this time for Eddie. Maybe not the 2 you'd have always expected. It's the 2 1-of-1s, but both S's. So yeah, is that a 25% chance if you take 2 S20s together, or more or less, a little less than S20 here, but that's a pretty good outcome. I'm full of Snow White. I don't know that I know this horse. Uses Lucy Juice. Got Dozier, Snowball. Okay, this is a nice horse. I think I've asked why some about Snowball before, I think. I don't know if I ever asked about this horse, but yeah, that's good because while Dozier's a 1-of-1 Astro, there's not that many Astro Colts at LDF, and there's not that many Astro fillies at LDF. So that's a useful piece. So he's got Ziggy Astro. He can go to Scuba yet with this. It is a filly. Yeah, that's a pretty good one there. Any for None for RVA, but let's see a couple of them. Yeah, he stole the Abominable Snowman name. Rude. Rude. Okay, we'll look at this one. I said, oh, that was last season. Never mind. Say it's Preference Abomination, but I kind of did it again. Obviously with intent, but Juju gets another S. Lavender Haze. Okay, then we're into the S minuses. So what crazy dream did he have here? He takes Lucy Juice to RTF, tries to get to RTF, but doesn't quite get there. I'm not sure. We'll have to sometime we'll have to stream, maybe later in the week or next week with the JJ and ask him about this one, because it is an LDF, but there are hundreds of more interesting LDFs from Lucy Juice at this point, I think. It's got Astro, which already exists at LDF. So I don't know that I like that breed, but all for experimenting, I guess. Juju's just consistently put out good S's despite being an S minus. Waterworks. I don't know if I know this horse. Shout out to Crypto Hog. I should use this horse. A+ speed's a bit of a brick, but it's got Mundo. It stayed firm. It's only got 1-1-1. I don't mind that at all. Maybe I'll have to look into that. What is that in the breeding barn for? Jesus. Maybe going back there. We'll see. RTF is the one I don't know what I'm going to do this season. The rest are solved for, I think. Oh, this isn't. I was wondering if Lavender Haze was the Gen 0. It's not. Poker Player, Drini Park, or Drini Park, I guess, technically, which still sounds stupid. Merida's been good for him. He got S Colt. He probably doesn't love that. Let's just look through all of his. Someone I think that probably pays more attention to individual horses than almost anybody in the game, which has lended himself to some big success in the game as well. So proof that you can certainly work your way up if you're willing to put in the effort. He goes to one of the cheaper options at Scuba LDF, but I think importantly, the top two Scubas are Apollo and Pelner Fields, who all preferred longer distances and had the stamina or finish to show for it. This has S+ speed, so I don't hate that. I'm curious. That's another one I'm curious about the price of. If we didn't have Apollo, we probably would use Talk Derby to Me, just because the speed would be nice to have. And if you had, so we talk about all these ones of how many one-of-ones have you used up. If you had a case where you had Ziggy and Astro, which both predominantly like to sprint, and you were going to use a Scuba, I think there's a case to say that you should use Talk Derby to Me because it prefers to sprint as well. Sage Panther wants to know when Apollo is going to 12K in the breeding barn. He may be in there for cheaper than that for a fleeting minute, but long term, Apollo and Jupiter for sure will never be less than the $400, the 32K. I just think Gen Zeros that are top tier are always going to have value, because I do think we're going to largely stall out. Like all of these S pluses we've looked at had, in some cases, 3 one-on-ones in them, most cases at least 2. So if you only have 1 one-on-one that you can account for, and you are by definition a top S, I think they're going to hold value for 6 more seasons minimum. So Web Weaver, the Spider from Mars against Scuba Stephanie. Ooh, let's flag that, because that's another horse we need to check on specifically. Queen of Victory. He'd be disappointed by the S, but he'd take the filly there, I think. That's probably one of his more important pieces these days. But I wanted to check Scuba Stephanie because she went to Jimmy Squarefoot, which is the LDF 9924 we've been talking about. Did not get an S plus. Just make sure this is it. It is. So he got S fillies 2 times in a row. So I'm guessing they're done using Jimmy Squarefoot, which makes me tempted to use Jimmy Squarefoot more. I think we probably will. I'm trying to get the first S plus 9924 meaningfully LDF piece. Like obviously I think you can get there with like no preferences, but I want to get there with top preferences. Uses America's Most Wanted. We talked about this horse when GVG was on. If you're joining late and watch the other streams, catch the replay on YouTube. GVG was thoughtful as always, and obviously has a lot of eye candy to reveal when he reveals his stuff. Gets an S here, gets a filly. That's a nice outcome. 2 1-on-1s, S minus and an S makes an S filly. Not bad. Trying to do left turf firm, bold strategy cotton. Takes an A plus and an S and gets an S though. He'll take that. I don't know if he would have wanted a colt there then or not. Not sure. We'd have to ask him. I don't know if he's still in the chat or not. Definitely take the grade up. Balthazar, I see some S pluses here. And some new ones. 2 for sure. 3. Wow. Let's just make sure he gets 3. All left dirt, which is, I guess, where he plays. 1 LDS. Mill Street's a Gen 0, I think, so that's a good outcome. You just love that when it's your own 2 pieces. Obviously, this is the rarest Ziggy at LDF. Mill Street's no slouch. I think this is the 2nd rarest Scuba at LDF. So I don't know if he's gotten there before with this combination, but this is one where even if you're putting 2 S's together, you should almost assume that you're going to have a 50-50 crack at an S plus. Does okay on preferences as well. Actually, maybe just a little bit better than average. I'll take that. I would take that. Here's the LDS one. One-eyed blind. Okay. So this has got a lot of expensive blood in it. I don't know this piece very well. Looks like a lower LDSS with 9924, which exists there. But then Edgar Allan Pony is non-1-of-1. Although you'll notice like this PFP is widely used. This was aced out back in the day. Sold his stable in large part to Balthazar. We got pieces from it, which was Hazel and Diana came from Balthazar via aced out. So he used this sire a lot, but he made thoughtful pieces with it. So this is a nice, unique SLDS. Did as well as he could on preferences, obviously taking the rarity 17 fine filly to it. Had a decent horse, not great race record, but then goes to One-Eyed Blind, which is, again, OEB racing, his kind of flagship horse, rarity 20, rarity 12. We've used this twice. We have 2 fillies, S fillies that'll hit the track. We were trying to bring One-Eyed Blind to LDF. We kind of stalled out on the firm versus soft, but they're fillies, so it won't matter as much. But this is certainly a nice piece. Low preferences and actually maybe a little bit unlucky on left. But got lucky on soft, and that's what he wanted was soft, so he'll take that. Nightmare, Pellener Fields, Nightmare, okay, yeah. 2nd rarest Scuba Colt, amongst the rarest Ziggy fillies. That's pretty good outcome there as well. So 2 for sure LDF Derby contenders in 3 seasons time if it's firm, I would think, because Eddie didn't really pull as much as I thought. GVG had the 2 earlier as well, starting with S pluses. So, but Lucy Juice I think is passing on a lot of start, which isn't super meaningful in a Derby sense, where Pellinger Fields has the stamina and the heart and has won the Kentucky Derby before, or at least the major that became the Kentucky Derby, one of the two. Let's see what YSM did. I don't know if they're done streaming or not. I thought I saw Doughboy was still going. Did they get any? Poker player says, already have an S Colt. Happier with LTF filly. Yeah, it's a great up. I just didn't know if you wanted the Colt. None for Peeb this time. I wonder if, did he feel he gave himself some chances? We'll look through a couple here quick. Because they had a monster result last season. Monochrome, I think, is, or something chrome is the, Polychrome maybe is the other Astro S Philly Gen 0. Barbarity is LDS. And they went to Firm, and they got Firm, and they got Philly. But certainly when they're paying for Lucy Juice, they would have hoped to get an S plus. And maybe because they're using 9924, it's maybe a case they actually wouldn't have mind getting a Colt if you got the S plus for sure. Internal bloodlines here. They get a filly. If they're trying to bring, looks like they're trying to bring Rose of Zion and Ziggy to LDS. I like the thought process, actually. And it's a filly, so it's a stepping stone piece for them. Still could be a good racer. It still has 6 preferences. It's still an S from 2 S's, so that's a pretty good outcome there, I would say. What we got here? America's Most Wanted did get some use, or at least what I would consider thoughtful use. 2 S's, stay in S, both Firm, gets a Colt. That one they'd be disappointed in, I think. But, I mean, it's not a bad outcome. It's just gender-wise and not grading out. Ooh, here's their Doc Blue breed. Ooh, I might have to try to go back and watch their stream. I think they were expecting, yeah, Polychrome is the Gen 0. With just really nice bloodlines throughout. One-Eyed Blind has already been used in it. This was like the earliest use of One-Eyed Blind to try to make LDF. We got there, but we were much later than Monochrome. Ours are 2 years old now. His is 5. So I don't know what he wanted for. I do want to re-listen to his because I want to know the thought process. You know you're going right dirt soft. I guess you're hoping you stay left dirt, and he didn't. He stayed dirt, but he was right. That's probably, yeah, that's a feels bad there. You take 1 star right into 1.5 left, which law of averages would tell you 1/2 star left, and they actually get a 1/2 star right. And then you take 2.5 soft to 0, and you get a 1/2 star soft. Yeah, they didn't do well on preferences for sure. Didn't do well on global grade for sure. Did well on gender. These are the things that I'm trying to monitor too, though, is like you've got a lot of strong soft preferences here, 2 and 2.5, made 2.5. And then you have a horse with a Firm in its bloodline. And if the end result is surprisingly Firm, I'm just wondering if, when you look at a breeding report for preferences, it clearly pulls the range of outcomes of all of the parents and grandparents. And this is a case where Polychrome kind of, I guess, skewed that soft result. I mean, it's not a bad horse, but for the breed that they did, I'm sure they weren't super happy with it. Internal breed here. They don't love it's an S. They don't love that it's a Colt. Lucy Juice with an S minus, so you can't be mad about an S, but wouldn't have wanted a Colt there. Yeah, Peeb might have been a little bit tilted this morning. Got another Colt here as well. Another internal breed, S and an S makes an S colt. Yeah, I actually feel for Peeb a little bit. They didn't really. They got the Empire Rose one. I think is an interesting and good outcome. Barbarity is Barbarity. I know it's trying to go to LDF as opposed to LDS, but in large part, they didn't love their reveal. Give it a little more time, I guess. Maybe try to stop at the bottom of the hour. So if there are any other questions, let me know. We'll pull up PJJs as well. Grape. Soma is a stable that I think maybe only does LDF. It's where I noticed them, but God, their horses are consistently good. We'll do Nate LFC. See if SoCal's got anything. And then we'll do Poseidon. We'll basically have made it through the top 50 stables, skipping obviously maybe half, but that's pretty good. Swath. Brad gets there with 2, both at I guess I might not be done, at RTS. I want to see how those are bred, but then I want to go back to the one he said that he got the most preferences from Jupiter, so it must be this one. Let's check this one. This is the last season breed. Yeah, this was the one he was talking about, though. So it does have a half-star extra preferences, but it's not a colt. So Dirty Diana still remains somewhat marketable in the breeding barn, in my opinion. Again, it's my own horse. Use it or don't use it, I don't care. 2 S pluses this time through. I do want to see what he went with AK-47 this time and retirement plan. I do spend a little more time on the RT stables, as it's where I'm trying to figure out how we move forward. And so if you wonder why I focus there and not click on other stables, that's why. Kind of a well-bred horse here because Cochise is, it's their own, but in another combination of super rare PFPs to make a non-1-of-1, use it with a 1-of-1, get an S, and then take that to Mundo, who's been putting out probably as many S pluses as any other RT horse, including Churro, honestly. This one is Churro, but it's got Mundo and AK-47 in it as well. Not great preferences, but it's a filly. He'll take that. And then the Gen 0 AK-47 went to Durban Poison this time. He's probably maybe a little disappointed on the gender. It's maybe fairly disappointed in the gender, and even the preferences weren't as crazy and firm, maybe. Retirement plan went to Earnest Money, his own, which is the same sire as are Born to Run. So there's a few non-1-of-1s you have to pay attention to. Obviously, anything Primetime 9930 related. The one I just mentioned, that we had Hazel, Diana, Edgar Allan Pony is that one as well. And then these 2 siblings at RTF. So even if it's a non-1-of-1, there are 2 that are the exact same. Excuse me. It's 2 S minuses make an S. It's a colt, so no 1-of-1s in an S colt doesn't suck. But I'm guessing someone's already done that with Born to Run or Earnest Money already, so it's probably just a little bit behind at that point. Warwick, I think, is a unique blood RTS, maybe. Yeah. Super rare combination. So they did full on rarity here. No PFP with a rarity above 36 together. 2 S's and get an S colt. I wonder if this combination's been done before. I'm sure it has. Let's look. If it hasn't been done, this is not a bad outcome. But if it has been done, probably wanted more. I don't know if it's going to be easy for me to look. Some good outcomes there. I don't know how to best look at that. I guess that's another case where we would want filters, where I could say filter based on sire. Iced Hog, Crypto Hog does not get his S plus that he was hoping for. I think he's got to be super close. Colt. I don't know this horse. Yeah, not a superb result for him. We'll pull up the Colt as well. It's RTS. Waterworks, which is his. Yeah, I think that is an interesting horse, and it was priced well, that's for sure. And then an S minus, so S and S minus gets an S filly. He'd take that for sure. Man, he didn't love this one. Uses Churl and gets an S Colt. That's a mess. Wolof looks like he's got a couple here. Jesus. Yeah, I'd say like 5. So Otani, which was one of the early successes at RT as well. Then the rest are right dirt, I think. Well, here's an LDF. Let's look at that one as well. So 2 S pluses together, not surprising. I'll be more surprised if it's a good racer. Maybe it is. Maybe it wicks somewhere. What is this horse? Apollo, sure. Love that. I could use Apollo a bunch of times and not get there. I mean, this is good. Lemon Drop is the... I would just take this horse, probably. I would like Lemon Drop as well. It's the highest total preference, S minus LDF for sure. Might just be the highest S minus. I don't think there's any of the... I don't think the Colts are there either. It's better than Shawnee Bear, I think. Use Scott Street to get an S with good preferences. Then goes to Apollo. Gets the S plus filly with good preferences. Yeah, it's a nice one there. There's the conflicting interests of people using your studs and then getting better results than you. Couple here for Hazy Hills as well. I don't know that you're right on that one, Sage Panther, but if you want to look, I think Lemon Drop is higher rarity. It ultimately doesn't matter. They're different genders, but I thought I was right on that one. Let's check to see what White Rhino is trying to do here. Obviously, sacking right to probably go to LDF, but we'll confirm. Yeah, Wolof did well for Stingray as well. So Stingray has a much smaller stable and probably as many S pluses. Oh, Churro. So again, you want an S plus, breed with an S plus. This at least has really good preferences. Gorilla Glue was obviously a good horse. Can it make up for Churro not being that great of a horse? We will see. I mean, it looks good on paper. It's an S plus with good preferences. I don't know if Churro has too many in his progeny. Axis isn't bad. This is where I'd like to be able to filter for Colt, filter for age. Yeah, so he'll actually probably take that just because there hasn't been, that might have the highest preferences of any of the S pluses at RTF. Again, I'm just trying to eyeball it without knowing. And there aren't that many that are, I mean, this is Mr. B. He'll be there next season, I think. I think it's Mr. B. So as far as outcomes go from Churro, he'll take it. I still don't know that it's a super surprising S plus. Then White Rhino goes to Lucy Juice. This takes a very nice S plus RDF to a very nice S plus LDF. Again, so when I complain about not getting an S plus, maybe I'm not trying hard enough, then I will eat crow if Sage Panther did the math. The one from Hans Holdenworth is the highest or best rarity, S minus LDF. Again, like I said, it's more inconsequential because of the gender. So we looked here, but shout out to PJJ, who's still in the chat. He showed us the one, Triple Crossing. Curious about this one. Just curious what this is. Maybe this one. Well, that's last year's. I'll look at it anyways because I'm still curious. Takes LTS to RTF. That's what I figured. I just wanted to make sure. I'm tempted to go the other way and take LTS to RTF personally, but I don't want RTS yet, I don't think. Okay, it takes an RDF to LDF. I don't hate it. Probably prefer. I personally would have preferred to take something without a 101 in it to do that, but we talked about that with GVG earlier. Alaska's, I think, maybe an old ghost horse, A+ and an S, make an S. That's not a bad outcome, but you probably didn't want. Maybe this isn't. Maybe someone stole the name. I know Ghost had used it previously. Probably didn't want a colt, but you'll take the S. Grape. They got at least one, just one. Right Dirt Firm. See if they got anything else that jumps off the page at the S level. A lot of colts. Holy smokes. Yeah, they didn't. Wow. I didn't do that bad on colts. To put mine in perspective again, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They get an S+ filly. They'll take 7 out of 8 were S colts for their S's. That's tough. Soma gets there with an S+ filly. Some RDF. Like I said, I don't focus as much on RDF because it's one, not even as special anymore. 2, I don't race there. So another Lucy Juice one. You want an S+? Breed with an S+. Chikara. I wonder if this is a horse that's created some of their other ones that are really good. Yeah, Sunrise is good, and then King's Coronation is good. Yeah, this horse is bred very well for them. And it was not a great racer. Shout out to PJJ in the chat. When I questioned, taking the RDF to LDF, fair play. If it can't compete there, do something different. I would have probably gone, because you already have RTF stuff, I would just go to RTF with it. But I mean, I can't hate it. I get you doing LDF because left was like right was like the lowest preference, but something to consider. And then it was a Ghost Source originally. We looked through here. Did Nate get one? He did not. He's probably going to be a little disappointed. I think he's got some things that have historically done pretty well. Gender split looks okay. 2 colts, 2 fillies, 2 more colts. Not great. No, it balances out. 4 and 4. Looked right, maybe. SoCal get anything? Gets a colt. I'm not going to love that one. We'll look at this one. Another colt. That's at the S- level. So we went 1 and 1 at the S level. First time I've seen Combat Ready. I'd be curious his thoughts on using this one. Only 1 of 1. I don't know if it would be a better breeding report than Scott Street itself or not. And then Dozier. So 2 1 of 1s, S filly. It's not a bad outcome for sure. And then Poseidon. We haven't historically looked at his just because he doesn't race as much. I know he competes in Right Dirt, but because we haven't looked at his a ton, might as well give him his due. I know he's the big guest on the JG Spaces or whatever this week, I think. And he's got at least 3 S+s, 2 fillies and a colt. Looks like he's trying to cross archetypes as well, bringing RDF to LDF like everybody else, I think. Yeah. 2 S's making S+, so he'll be happy with that result. Scott This is where I don't love how many 101s you bring into LDF though. Like even if you succeed in getting an S plus and you do cross over to LDF, where does this go next? It can't go to Lucy Juice. It can go to the Scubas, Pelner Fields, Apollo, Talk Derby to Me, an S plus created from that. But then the next one is like kind of stuck again. So it ultimately doesn't matter because the problems I'm alluding to or talking to are like 6 months away in real life. Like Web3 will be very different 6 months away in real life. So it's maybe a little bit of an instant gratification as opposed at the consequence of some long-term prospects where we're definitely going like I want as few 101s in the process as I can. We're still considering using an S minus Gen 0 RTF Colt this cycle, which I think most people wouldn't be taking S fillies to S minuses this late in the game. But I think there's merit to it. And if we stall out, it probably ultimately won't matter that we did. We just won't have the best racers going up until that period of time. But when everybody stalls out, we might be best positioned to pass or best positioned to be the ones to actually advance those bloodlines. So yeah, if you're just joining late, we'll do like a super quick recap. But ultimately didn't crush things, but no S plus. Didn't do poorly though either, I don't think. Like this is a pretty big miss, I think. This is a miss. This is a miss. This is a miss. Man, there are more Colts here than I thought. Oh my God. Maybe we did do worse than I thought. Maybe that was the best way to do it when we drew it up. Let's do just a gender count on the S's alone. Oops. Screen is gone. Want that. Snap. Okay. 1, 1, 1, 1. No, this is riveting, but I do care. I think this is going to end in disappointment. Yeah, holy fuck. Jesus. Nah, I lost where I was, but the moral of the story is I think it's very cold intensive. Oh, there's a couple. That was a good little streak there. And obviously can't complain about counts. Oh, now we're in the 1-year-olds. So what did we do there? Just a rough eyeball because I can't trust the math. 18 and less than 18, 11. Yikes. Hopefully we did better across all the grades. Last time I made you guys wait while I mocked it up live, counting 1 for everyone. Like that, I think that's too slow. So we'll do it this time. If you're trying to get a jump on the market itself from our perspective, I would say it's unlikely for us to sell anything below an S Colt. I think S Colts could potentially be available. Fillies are more or less fair game. It doesn't mean we won't tell you no. And like I said, our plan would be to at least list a couple fillies today, but I think it's unlikely that we list any Colts. So if you want a Colt, again, at the S level, we'd probably sell them. Below that, we're probably just going to wait to. Colts tend to have a natural way of appreciating in value where they're not useful as 0-year-olds. They're not very useful as a 1-year-old, but once they're 2, and if they're good, they can race pretty effectively in claimers. where fillies have historically always been valuable because they're fillies and you can create bloodlines from them. So we'll wait for the colts to tick up in price probably. But fillies may be available. We'll have some listed today. But yeah, no headline grabber from our stable. And, you know, the Gen Zero S fillies both made colts. A lot of their existing offspring made colts. So not great. But we just watched GVG at the start of the stream reveal a bunch of colts. We looked through. YSMs wasn't super great. So you win some, you lose some for sure. But I think we'll wrap it there. Again, if you're just getting here late, this full replay, all 2 hours and 35 minutes of it, will be available on YouTube the second I hit the end of the stream. And then, yeah, just reach out and chat if there's anything of interest to you or if you have any questions in general. So appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys had a bunch of success, whether or not we were able to showcase your stable. And if you are interested in hopping up on the stream, whether it's a Foal's Day stream or any stream, just reach out. So thanks, guys.